this one of the ones that has the digital work as well? For like a photo?
This is, yes, this was a photo. That's me when I'm about your age. This is a photo that if you can print your photo in copier toner, which Xerox does, but
That's why we have that printer in the office.
yes, that printer will produce an image that will accept foil. So you can use black and white photographs. The more contrast, the better. And we can then run it through the printer, and then when we put the foil on the copy, some of the reason it works is because the copier toner has polymer in it, and the foil has polymer in it, and the paper you're going to be working on is coated in polymer. And under heat and pressure, polymer bonds and builds a new very long molecule. So what this is an old school photograph, enlarged, copied on the copy machine, foiled, and then the foil, this is plastic. It was used as a paint palette, as you can see. And so then the foil will also adhere to the plastic because I've coated it with polymer. And then what I did here, you can't see it here because of the light, but we should take it off and see. That's a reflective mirror in the background. And so when you have the right kind of light, and I was going to ask one of you engineers to build me a lit frame. This was an experiment. I didn't do another one, but it was kind of an interesting idea. You could also back it with moving images with digital technology. There's no reason why the background can't move. Now, Virginia Myers, a longtime professor at the University of Iowa, came to Iowa at the suggestion of her painting professor in California, who told her that she had to come to the University of Iowa and work with Maurizio Lazenski. So she arrived in a bus with $200 in her pocket and no place to live. And she stayed down there where CVS is. There was a hotel, and that was a bus stop, and it was kind of sleazy. But then she went on and got a job as a nanny. She started making frames for the art department, and she started dropping in on classes. And through that, she built a relationship with Lazenski and became his assistant. And she completed a graduate degree in printmaking here. She already had a graduate degree in painting. And then eventually she became the head of printmaking at Iowa. So that takes, after she retired, she went home, she continued to work in her basement, and then she had some sort of a breathing problem and passed away. But this book was published featuring the artwork of students that were taking printmaking classes from her. It's dedicated to Stanley's. She wrote a little introduction herself, and then in here she features her students. And these are all printmakers that are using foil, and each one of them got a little picture and a little short bio and an original artwork.
This is the one of 50?
Pardon me?
Is this the one of 50?
The one of 50.
Were each student meant to like make 50 of the same?
Yep. Yes.
Is this on Mylar? Or what is
Go ahead and pass it around. I think you'll all be careful with it. Yeah, it's on Mylar. So I will just quickly show you the variety of work that these printmaking students were doing with foil added. We'll just go very quickly.
So when I took a foil class, they gave us, I think, like a way cheaper version of this book. Or
Yeah,
is
this
like
book-
this is the actual prints though, right?
This is the original print, and it's the book,
Okay.
and it's expensive.
That's crazy.
very expensive. All of the prints in here are originals. And they were part of the editioning process that print students had to go through to learn to edition. And that's what this book is, but I also have for you to look at the 2 workbooks that she created during her class also, and they include much of the same stuff. So this is history. It's funny, he refused to have his picture taken. Virginia said, but your prints are wonderful, we want to put them in the book, but you have to have your picture taken. So he went down and had his picture taken where he's not looking at the camera, and she said, no. So he went back and he had his picture taken with his hat down so low that you can hardly see his face. Art students, what can you say?
That's awesome.
Isn't it? So here's the foil part. Many of these are done with another printmaking technique also. Some of them are not. Some of them are all foil. Some of them were prints and foils. There's some that are photographs and foil. They're all quite beautiful.
Artist.
Pardon me?
Is there a list of the artists?
Yes, there is, I believe in the front. Yeah. These were students of hers at that time. Many of them gone on. I think he went on to be a professor somewhere teaching art. Some of them were from other countries. She went on to work in medical engineering, I believe. This is Elizabeth Munger, who ran a printing press in downtown Iowa City for quite a while. Yeah. This is her print, which uses fabric and foil and an intaglio of her dog. I think she's still in Iowa City.
Yeah, she is.
So she's in this book too. You may know some of these people. Farm buildings, this is a photograph. Not a drawing or a painting.
Can foil bind to photo paper, or do you have to like hit it with
Some of it
Okay.
it can. The one photo I showed you over there, it foiled.
Just went right on.
It's the color photography. I don't know which one to tell you, but it will foil. For black and white, it has to be a Xerox copy of it. Deolanda is still here in town, and she was one of the people in Virginia's last days. She and I and Allison Hetty were her assistants. And she's a printmaker as well.
So when you say a Xerox copy, can that be an ink? Is that?
It has to be copier toner, so it has to be a Xerox. The others are inkjet. That won't work. It's a little harder to find that these days because everybody is using some other technology. But and at one point, I commandeered the partly full leftover cartridges of copier toner because I knew we could use it. It's harder and harder to find these days. Jim Hawtrey. He lives in Iowa City. He's an Iowa Cityan. This is interesting. Instead of putting a title, he put all of his foils and all of the information about the foils that he used. He's a very technical person, and so this goes along with it. And as you can see, these are the number of times that he put this through the press. He's very meticulous.
So you can make it yourself if you want.
Yeah,
Just follow the directions.
yeah, you could. I can't understand them. It's a foreign language to me, but cartoons. So I think we'll stop right here. The book will be here. I will probably lock it up, but it will be here filling. So you can look through these things too, but this is how this opens. So if we have any bookmakers here, this may resemble something you have learned to do as a bookmaker. Here we have three-dimensional broken glass and so on, and all of this, and it folds up into a little box. Here is, one of the students got food in a box one day. Foils the food in a box. So this is just a nice, funny example of three-dimensional things. Here's a book. This was not completed, but what this student was doing was going through the books and finding areas that either had something to do with the text or something to do with this whole idea of altering books, which I know we see a lot of these days, but these are pretty cool. So, you know, things like this. And she foiled the covers. This one is a portfolio. So they were working with different forms of representation as well as the foiling itself. And what she has done is she has gone through her process. Now, I did not ask her to do this, but she did. And so when you go through here, you will see that she has an explanation for each of these images that she was working on. And again, I won't go through the whole thing, but this is here for you to take a look at how someone else was working with this whole process and thinking about it in, you know, different terms than just something flat 2D on the wall. So we'll put this one over here too. This one is kind of heartbreaking. This is the way it is made. You open up this cover, and here you have a piece of wood, and here you have a book that is made from fired clay. This is a photo album of sorts, a visualization of my literal internal struggles. She has a condition, and she was going through a lot of medical processes and working in doing the foil class also. And so this is a kind of a biography of her personal experiences. Here's the color chart that she made, and that's one of the things I'm going to ask you guys to do, so that you can see what happens when you overlay transparent or translucent foils. You get another color. And so we will I'll have you try that out a little bit so you can learn the foils, as it were. So these images, and right now you are seeing the wonder of silicone. It does not foil. It doesn't like polymers. This is the same paper that food comes wrapped up in, and I have a big bunch of it for you to use. We use these for stencils also because it doesn't foil, so you're able to stencil very carefully out smaller bits and pieces. So anyway, she goes through here with a lot of her medical issues and so on. And let's see, it seems to me it has a nice ending. Maybe not. No, I think that's it. But she was a ceramic student, and so she made the cover out of clay. I worked with a ceramics studio also at that time to see if we could pursue this a little farther. We didn't have time to continue our investigations, but the heat required for working with clay, we need heat too. You need a lot more heat for clay than you need for foiling. But so they were putting their pieces in the kiln and getting it out and foiling it and putting it in the kiln and getting it out and foiling it so that it would be the right temperature and not burn up. And we had a lot of fun with that. We never came to a solution, but it just gives you another idea of the kind of experimentation we